What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Dude Hines Show. And today is Thursday, the 15th, 2021, which means we are just 2 weeks away from the NFL Draft. Right now, it's about 8:12 p.m., so around this time, 2 weeks from this very moment, will probably be about when the Jacksonville Jaguars announce the first pick in the draft. We are officially less than 2 weeks away now. Since it's after 8 p.m., it does not seem like it at all. And in this video, I'm going to be doing a 3-round NFL mock draft. This video is going to be probably quite a long time, so make sure to stay tuned, see what check and see what pick I have for your team. We'll get started in just one moment here, and this video is live on YouTube, like every single video I do. Also, something to look into. Tomorrow, the 16th, at around 1 p.m., Los Angeles Chargers starting running back Austin Eckler will be on the show tomorrow for an interview, so I'm really looking forward to that. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and get started in just 1 second. So, with the first pick, the first 5 picks, these picks will be like in fives because I can't do each individual one. With no surprise, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence. I think that's the one pick that's most obvious in the draft. New York Jets take Zach Wilson. But to me, that's a phenomenal pick. I do not think the Jets should take Justin Fields or Trey Lance, something like that. They have to take Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson has the most potential of any quarterback in the draft class. Number 3, the San Francisco 49ers, with their trade up and everything with the Miami Dolphins, they select and take Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. This is the one pick in the top 5 that I keep having troubles with the most. I like Trey Lance more than I like Justin Fields. I think the 49ers like Justin Fields more than Trey Lance, but I don't know. The 49ers went to the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes before, those allegations came up. So obviously they're not going to get him. And both these guys kind of remind me a tad bit of Deshaun Watson's playing style. In a way, Justin Fields would make more sense because he's going to be, I would say, drafted first. So that's why they traded up all those picks. But I do believe it'll be Justin Fields or Trey Lance. If I had to pick between the two, as you see here, I have been taking Justin Fields. I do not believe it'll be Matt Jones. I don't know where all that stuff's coming from. It honestly does not make any sense. If they draft Matt Jones at 3, I think we're going to look back 5 years now and say this would be one of the worst NFL trades in NFL history. And number 5, I had the Bengals taking LSU receiver Jamar Chase. I don't know. I would like Sewell, Chase, Pitts. I'd be happy with any other 3. But realistically, I think Jamar Chase is probably the most likely to happen at 5. But I'd be fine with Chase. I'd be fine with Sewell. But it'll be really interesting to see what the Bengals do at 5. Some people just turning in here. I'm doing a 3-round NFL mock draft. So as we get ready to go through pick 6 through 10, this is very interesting. Pick number 6, for example, I had the Miami Dolphins taking tight end Kyle Pitts. I think that's an amazing pick. And, I tweeted about this months ago. I said, don't be surprised if the Dolphins take Kyle Pitts. It makes a lot more sense than people think. And that was when they had the 3rd pick. When the Dolphins had the 3rd pick, I was totally for them taking Kyle Pitts at 3. Because, he's a top 5 talent. Honestly, he's probably top 3 or even 2 talents in the draft class. And, Mike Gesicki, their tight end, arguably their best, arguably their best catch passer. He's a free agent 1 year from now. And I think he'd be an amazing fit with the Miami Dolphins. I know some people would say, maybe what if they take Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle? Both those guys were Tua Tagovailoa's teammates at Alabama. I think Kyle Pitts would be a much better option. So at number 7 here, I've had the Detroit Lions take a quarterback before, and it would make quite a bit of sense because honestly, to me, I think it'd be if if Trey Lance, something like that would, fall there, you got to get him. But you got to have, maybe a successor to learn from Jared Goff. Jared Goff's not great, but he has been to a Super Bowl. But the best player available here with Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle from Oregon, which is a pretty nice pick. I mean, you can't go wrong with Sewell at 7, especially when you're a rebuilding team who, could use an offensive line, whoever your quarterback would may be, whether it's Jared Goff or, a young quarterback, who's going to be drafted this year, next year, whenever. Number 8, I have the Carolina Panthers taking Jalen Waddle, the wide receiver from Alabama. I think this is a phenomenal pick. He reminds me a lot of Curtis Samuel. And, they just lost Curtis Samuel in free agency, him going to the Washington football team. So I think that's a really perfect match for the Carolina Panthers. Number 9, the Denver Broncos. They take Micah Parsons, the linebacker out of Penn State. This one's really interesting. The off-the-field issues with Micah Parsons, if they're true, he should not be drafted at all. But, his pro day was very nice. It was really good. And if, those allegations weren't true, he's definitely a top 10 pick. I've seen some people say, Peter Schrager from Good Morning Football actually had Matt Jones going to the Denver Broncos at 9. I really don't see that. I think Drew Lock, I know he's played over a year span of games, but, he's been inconsistent, but he's also been injured, and a lot of his his talent on the offensive side of the ball has been injured as well. So I think it is a little bit too early for the Denver Broncos to get rid of Drew Lock and already find his replacement. But I would not be against the Broncos maybe getting a guy maybe around 3 or 4 to kind of make Lock like if you don't play good, we're willing to bench you, not just you didn't play good last couple of games. We're already going to find your next player. Anything like that. And number 10, I have the Dallas Cowboys taking Patrick Surtain, the corner from Alabama. They could definitely use him. I think that'd be a great fit there. They could really use corner. Their secondary was on pace to be one of the worst in NFL history. Let's see here. As we go to picks number 11 through 15, I have 11, the New York Giants taking wide receiver Devontae Smith, and the Heisman winner. If you can get Devontae Smith at 11, that's great value. I know they did sign, John Ross and Kenny Golladay, but John Ross is a 1-year deal. Kenny Golladay I like a lot, but he's coming off a season-ending injury. Number 12, the Philadelphia Eagles take J.C. Horn. The Philadelphia Eagles will absolutely love to got Devontae Smith at 12, and obviously he was a pick before. J.C. Horn's probably the second best quarter now with a nice pro day and Caleb Farley dropping. And, the Eagles could use a corner, so I think it'll be a good fit and nice pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. If this was 3 weeks ago, I would think J.C. Horn at 12 would be a little bit of a reach, but now I think, the Philadelphia Eagles taking him at 12 is actually a pretty nice pick. 13, I had the Los Angeles Chargers taking Rashawn Slater. That's a phenomenal pick for the Chargers. Last season, out of all their offensive linemen, they did not have an offensive lineman rate higher than 66, according to Pro Football Focus. They had the best free agency signing in the league in Corey Linsley. Rashawn Slater that might be the best pick of this first round. So you're just tuning in, doing a 3-round mock draft for the NFL draft coming up, and it's 2 weeks from today. Moving on pick 14, I have the Minnesota Vikings taking guard/tackle Elijah Vera Tucker from USC. I think this pick is kind of surprising, but I think it could make some sense. I would not be surprised to see maybe Kwity Paye, Azeez Ojulari, one of those two guys here at 14. Because, their defense was horrendous last season. But, the versatility of Vera Tucker playing guard and tackle, I think it makes sense because the Minnesota Vikings actually need guard and tackle. So you could play either one of those positions. 15 is probably the biggest question mark to me. In the first round, what will the Patriots do? I had them taking Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the linebacker from Notre Dame University. I think he's one of those guys that Belichick absolutely loves. One of those players, skilled players on the defensive side of the ball who's just everywhere. It's going to be great for them. But if Matt Jones, we're in the top 15 picks, and Matt Jones has yet to be taken. I don't think the Patriots would take Matt Jones. I hate that fit for Matt Jones and the Patriots. I do not think that would be a good fit at all. Matt Jones, to me, it just wouldn't really be smart. Matt Jones does not elevate your team. He's a game manager. It reminds me of Andy Dalton, but like much better. So the Patriots take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah at 15. As we go to 16 here, I have the Arizona Cardinals taking offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. I think that's a really nice pick. The Arizona Cardinals could use some offensive linemen, so it makes sense. And he's clearly the best offensive lineman available. I know it's a surprise that I have Elijah Vera Tucker being drafted before Darrisaw, but I think Darrisaw is dropping just a little bit, so I think it's possible. 17, I have the Raiders taking Greg Newsome, the corner from Northwestern University, and they could use corner. I think it makes sense there. Maybe a little bit too early for him, but maybe they can get a corner round 2. 18, I have the Miami Dolphins taking Alabama running back Najee Harris. I think that's a perfect fit. Pair him with former college teammate Tua Tagovailoa. It makes a lot of sense. They need a running back. I really thought they were going to sign Aaron Jones from the Green Bay Packers. Obviously that did not happen. And the fall of Matt Jones finally ends at 19, him going to the Washington football team. I think Matt Jones going to the Washington football team at 19 is a pretty nice fit for him because they don't need that star quarterback. They can have a game manager and still get at the playoffs. Look at Alex Smith last season. I think if Matt Jones is drafted by the Washington football team at 19, he could learn a lot of things from Ryan Fitzpatrick. And of all the teams in the top 20, I honestly think the best fit for Matt Jones is actually probably the Washington football team. It would be a good pick. It would be a great spot for Matt Jones. And to close out the top 20 picks, the Chicago Bears take Minnesota wide receiver Rashad Bateman. Bateman's dropping a little bit, and they could use wide receiver because Allen Robinson only has 1 year on his contract left. He's a franchise tag. Realistically, I don't see the Bears re-signing him next season. So go ahead and try to find your Allen Robinson replacement by getting Bateman at the 20th pick overall. So we're 20 picks in. Let me know what you think so far of this mock draft. Maybe your favorite pick or anything like that. So we go to 21 here. The Indianapolis Colts select Azeez Ojulari. They lost Justin Houston in free agency. I know some people may say they should take maybe an offensive lineman, maybe an offensive tackle, maybe Kevin Jenkins, something like that. But I actually like the pick quite a bit. Maybe even a wide receiver. If Bateman's there at 21, I think the Colts have to roll the dice and take Bateman at 21. I think it'll be a really nice fit and pick there for the Colts because they have Michael Pittman. They have some other receivers, but I think you need to give all the weapons to Carson Wentz because I really think Carson Wentz could maybe end up winning, helping the Colts get to a Super Bowl. Pick 22 staying in the AFC South. The Tennessee Titans take Caleb Farley. That's a fantastic pick as well. He's dropped quite a bit with his injuries. Phenomenal pick. That's one of the best picks in the first round as well. They could use corner, and Rabel is a defensive guy. Getting Farley at 22, is an absolute steal. And a very interesting pick. The New York Jets do not take Travis Etienne as a 23rd pick overall. They take Samuel Cosmi, the offensive tackle from Texas University. To me, Etienne's one of those players that seems like he's dropping, down quite a bit. Not necessarily quite a bit. But I've seen some people have actually Javonte Williams higher than Travis Etienne. I don't think Etienne's a lock for the first round. If he's drafted in the first round, I do think it would be the Jets. I think it makes the most sense. I've seen some people say, maybe the Steelers. Steelers should not draft a running back in the first round. That would be absolutely stupid. Speaking of the Steelers, they pick with the next pick. 24th, they take Creed Humphrey, the center from Oklahoma. I think this is maybe a tad bit of a reach, but I like it quite a bit. Landon Dickerson, also maybe as well at the 24th pick. They lost Pouncey. He retired, but I think it would be smart if the Steelers go ahead and find their future center. It would make a lot of sense. And close at the top 25, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Christian Barmore, the defensive tackle from Alabama University. And I believe, the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line coach or one of their coaches on the bench side of the ball actually coached Barmore in his freshman year at the Crimson Tide. So there's already connection there. And Jaguars could definitely use some defensive linemen because their defensive linemen last season, they were really slim. They were having to start, undrafted free agents last season because they were so injured and they just didn't really have many good players. So I think Barmore is a really nice pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. As we go to 26 here, 26 through 30, I have the Cleveland Browns taking Jamin Davis, the linebacker from Kentucky University. Davis, his pro day, he's jumping a ton in the draft boards. A week or so ago, he was a third-round pick. The amount of drafts, he can possibly end up going in the first round, early second, something like that. He's jumped some linebackers like Nick Bolton or Baron Browning, someone from Ohio State. But I like that pick from the Cleveland Browns. And the Barmore was still available at the Browns. I definitely would have took him there because the Browns, they recently signed Jadeveon Clowney. I think that's a great signing. I think they did overpay him a little bit. But, you have to make moves. You got to take risky moves if you want to win a championship in the NFL, and that's exactly what the Cleveland Browns did. 27, the Baltimore Ravens take safety Trevon Moehrig from TCU. I have said before, I think Kadarius Toney would be a perfect spot for 27, and I still think it would, but they have bigger needs than wide receiver. Even the Rashad Bateman's here at 27, you can put him on the Baltimore Ravens team. They're not going to be passing a ton. They're always going to be a run-first team as long as they have Lamar Jackson. And, they could definitely use a safety because they easily have the worst safety depth in the AFC North, and it's not even close. Trevon Moehrig is actually, despite being the best player at his position, is one of the more underrated players in the first round. He's rated pretty much number one on everything, according to Pro Football Focus. You watch his film. He's really, really good in coverage. So we'll let that pick there for the Baltimore Ravens. As we go to 28, the New Orleans Saints take wide receiver Terrence Marshall Jr. from LSU. They stay in state and take Terrence Marshall. I think that's a fantastic pick. Terrence Marshall is going up draft boards a lot. I think he'll definitely be a first-round pick after his impressive pro day, running the 40-yard dash, and I believe a 4.39. The next pick, the Green Bay Packers do not take a wide receiver. I know it's kind of crazy, but the wide receiver depth in this draft is really good. It's not as good as last year's, but it's really, really good. I would not be surprised at all if the Packers maybe take a wide receiver in the second and third round, depending who's available. But Asante Samuel Jr., the corner from Florida State, is a fantastic pick. They need help at corner. Their three biggest needs are wide receiver, corner, and linebacker. If Terrence Marshall was there at 29, I definitely think the Packers would have took him. There's also Elijah Moore as well. Kadarius Toney. Both of those guys are still available. But I don't think the Packers take either one of those guys. I think Asante Samuel Jr., I think that's honestly probably the best pick the Packers could do at 29. And I know it sounds crazy, but, the 30th pick overall, the Buffalo Bills take Kwity Paye. There's not many edge rushers in this mock draft in round one because this edge rushing class is very similar to the wide receiver class last season. Teams are not going to take an edge rusher in the first round because you can find a Peyton Turner maybe in round 3, a Patrick Jones in round 3. This edge class is so loaded. I don't think many teams are going to take a chance on an edge rusher early because they can still find a very talented edge rusher in the mid-round. So 31, I have the Kansas City Chiefs taking Tevin Jenkins. They can use some more offensive line help. I know they signed Joe Thuney. That's a fantastic signing, but they need more offensive line help. And the last pick of the first round, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking Jalen Phillips. I think this is a really nice pick. Phillips is one of the best edge rushers. And by the time, I kind of mentioned the edge rushers, not being picked, but by the time the Buccaneers pick again, they pick 64th overall. So lots of those edge rushers will actually be gone. So that's the end of round one. As we go to round two here, 33, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Ohio State linebacker Baron Browning. I think this makes a lot of sense. They can use a linebacker. They signed Joe Schobert last season, and he's not what they expected. The Ohio State connection with Urban Meyer and the Buckeyes, obviously he coached there. Baron Browning had a phenomenal pro day, and he helped his stock a ton. I would not be shocked if he ended up maybe even being a first-round pick. And I did not have Travis Etienne going to the Jets at 23, but I do have him going to the Jets at 34. I don't think there is a team between the Jets' second first-round pick and the Jets' second-round pick that would take Travis Etienne. I know the Steelers need a running back, but I just don't agree with that pick at all. So they still end up getting Travis Etienne. That's a very good job there for the New York Jets. At 35, the Atlanta Falcons trade Javonte Williams, the running back from North Carolina. They could use running back. They signed Todd Gurley this past season. He's a free agent now. That was absolutely horrible. Todd Gurley did not even average 50 rushing yards a game with the Falcons. They've still unable to find that consistent running back that they've needed for so long. And I think if they get Javonte Williams, that would definitely be it. The Miami Dolphins at 36 take another Alabama Crimson Tide player and offensive tackle Alex Leatherwood. That trade with Isaiah Wilson clearly did not work out. Already been released within the past. He was released within him being on the team for 1 week. And they can definitely use offensive line help. I know they signed Austin Jackson. They drafted Austin Jackson in the first round last season. He's not really what they expected. 37, the Eagles finally find a quality receiver in Elijah Moore. He's probably the best route runner in this draft class. And, they passed on Justin Jefferson last season and took Jalen Reagor from TCU. I think that was a horrible pick. And, they get Elijah Moore, who could be a pretty decent receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's 33 through 37. Next up is 38 with the Bengals. I had the Bengals taking White Davis, the guard from Ohio State. I think that makes a lot of sense. We have still not signed a quality guard. I really thought by this point maybe we would have signed Trey Turner or Larry Warford, but we haven't yet. We signed Riley Reef to a 1-year deal, but White Davis at 38 is a steal, and you get Jamar Chase and White Davis. Both those picks, in my opinion, are A+. 39, the Carolina Panthers take linebacker Zaven Collins. They could use linebacker. They're still trying to find a good replacement for Luke Kuechly. 40, the Denver Broncos take Carlos Basham, the edge rusher from Wake Forest. He's definitely one of my favorite edge rushers in the class. And getting him at 40, some people may think it maybe a bit high, but I really, really like it. I think would be a great fit for the Broncos. Getting him and Micah Parsons really helping their defensive side of the ball. Because Bradley Chubb is a free agent soon, and Von Miller's getting up there in age. 41, the Detroit Lions take Kadarius Toney. I know it's a big drop-off for Toney, but with other wide receivers dripping off draft boards like Elijah Moore and Terrence Marshall Jr., would not be surprised if Kadarius Toney maybe fell a bit. To me, it's in the team. In the top 30 that makes the most sense is the Ravens. The Ravens don't take Toney. I think he may slide outside, slide a little bit. 42, the New York Giants take edge rusher Joseph Osai. They could really use some edge rushing help. I would not be shocked that they maybe even traded back in the first round a little bit and took a edge rusher like Azeez Ojulari. But getting him at 42 is a really, really nice pick. As you go to 43 through 47, 43, I have the 49ers taking corner Ifeatu Melifonwu. Richard Sherman is no longer with the 49ers, and they definitely need some corner help. Before the trade happening of them trading into the top 5, them getting J.C. Horn to me was a realistic, and I thought that was going to happen at 12. But obviously with a trade, that's not going to happen. So I could definitely see them getting a corner in round 2 now. 44, the Cowboys take safety Richie Grant. They could use some safety help and secondary help. I know I already had them taking a corner in round 1, but they just need a ton of help in the secondary because they literally had one of the worst secondaries to begin the first 5 or 6 games last season in NFL history. 45, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars seeing edge rusher Gregory Rousseau. When the college football season ended, Gregory Rousseau was a top 15 pick. He is dropping a ton because he's one player who's a huge boom or bust. You'll watch one game and he looks really good. Another game he looks absolutely horrible. And there's even games where he has 2 sacks, but it just doesn't really seem like it because he's just so inconsistent. He opted out this past season, and looking back, that was not a good idea because this edge class is just absolutely loaded. I would be actually shocked at this point if Gregory Rousseau even ended up being a first-round pick. 46, the New England Patriots take Georgia corner Eric Stokes. They could use some corner help. Stephon Gilmore, you don't know what is going to happen there. Maybe he ends up being traded. Maybe the Patriots, use him for a trade with the Atlanta Falcons at 4 because, the Falcons could use some corner help. And, getting Stephon Gilmore, there'd be more picks involved. I think that's something to maybe take into consideration as well. The Los Angeles Chargers at 47 take Kentucky corner Kelvin Joseph. They can use some corner help as well. So we go to 48 through 52. The Las Vegas Raiders take Dylan Redunce from North Dakota State. I think this is a really nice pick. He's one of the better offensive tackles. If he played at Ohio State, Alabama, he would 100% be a first-round pick. It's because his low level of competition, which to me just doesn't really make sense because Trey Lance will be a top 10 pick, and he's played at the exact same school. 49, the Arizona Cardinals take Liam Eckenberg, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame. And Eckenberg, on the offensive side of the ball, is probably the one player you have no idea where he's going to go. I literally seen mock drafts this past day, actually today, of him being in the first round. I've seen another mock draft today of him being in a mock draft, him being drafted in the 3rd round. He's absolutely everywhere. And I know I already had the Cardinals take Christian Darrisaw, but they could really use some tackles. Darrisaw and Eckenberg. You have the 2 tackles in the next decade protecting your franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray. I know some Arizona fans might not like it, but I think it'd be pretty smart just to double down on tackle there with 49. 50, the Miami Dolphins yet again take another Alabama Crimson Tide player. And, taking these draft picks from Miami, I was honestly not trying to have an Alabama player picked every single Miami pick. They can use some interior offensive line help. Getting Landon Dickerson at 50 is a steal. If it wasn't for his injury, he would have been drafted in the first round 100%. Get some better offensive line help for, Tua Tagovailoa. I know they already got Leatherwood. And then you got Austin Jackson from last past season in the draft. They certainly have a young, nice offensive line for Tua, whoever may the quarterback be in the future from Miami. 51, the Washington football team takes Nick Bolton, the linebacker from Missouri. I know I have him dropping quite a bit here, but to me, I'm not really impressed as Bolton as I am with other people. And this is kind of a combination of what I think will happen and kind of what I think will happen and what I personally believe should happen. But the Washington football team could use some linebacker help. And if Matt Jones was already gone at 19, and if Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame was there, I expected they would take him. But since that didn't happen, getting Nick Bolton, who's definitely one of the best players available at 51, is a really nice pick for the Washington football team. Chicago Bears take defensive tackle from Washington, Levi Osu-Riki. They can really use some defensive line help as well. Their defense is, it's not really as good as what it used to be. So I think getting him there is a really nice pick. As we go to 53 through 57. 53, I have the Tennessee Titans taking Penn State edge rusher Jason Away. He did not have a sack this past season, but actually, if you actually watch the film, he has a lot of potential. I think this is a really nice pick for the Tennessee Titans. He probably shouldn't be here at 53, so getting him here is absolutely A+ for the Titans. 54, I had the Indianapolis Colts taking Damani Brown, the wide receiver from North Carolina University. I've seen some mock drafts actually have Brown going in the first round, and others have him going in the 3rd. So getting him in the mid-second is a really nice pick for the Colts, and getting Carson Wentz more weapons. 55, I had the Pittsburgh Steelers taking tight ends from Penn State, Pat Freiermuth. I think this makes a lot of sense as well. I believe Vance McDonald retired this past season, and they need some tight end help. Would not be shocked to hit maybe take a quarterback here round 2, but I think Pat Freiermuth, he's dropped quite a bit at 55. I think that'd be a really nice pick for Pittsburgh. 56. I had the Seattle Seahawks taking a wide receiver from Purdue, Rondale Moore. I have him dropping quite a bit too. You have him, DK Metcalf, and Taylor Lockett. You just have a ton of weapons for Russell Wilson. 57, I had the Los Angeles Chargers taking edge rusher Joe Tyron. I've seen his projections everywhere. Getting him at 57 is a really nice pick, and they can actually use some edge rushers. He's one of the best players available here, and that's a team need. Anytime you can get best player available, one of the best players available, and a team need, that's automatically an A-plus pick. 58, I had the Baltimore Ravens taking edge rusher Peyton Turner. Peyton Turner had a phenomenal pro day, and he's definitely going to be a day 2 pick now. You know, there are some people maybe say he'll be early fourth round pick. He'll definitely be a day 2 pick. 59, I have the Cleveland Browns taking Devion Nixon. You know, they lost Larry Ogunjobi this past season, Cincinnati Bengals in free agency. Devion Nixon's a really, really nice defensive tackle, so filling a hole on the defensive line is great for Cleveland. Number 60, the New Orleans Saints state linebacker Jabril Cox, staying in state again, getting linebacker help, which they desperately need. I think that's a really smart pick by New Orleans. 61, the Buffalo Bills take corner Aaron Robinson from UCF. They need some corner help. I think this is also another pick that makes a lot of sense. One of the best players available and a team need. And 62, the Green Bay Packers finally take a wide receiver and Dwayne Eskridge from Western Michigan. I think that pick makes a lot of sense. Eskridge was one of those guys for a while who was starting to go off draft boards at time. Now he's kind of dropped a tad bit. Getting him at towards the end of round 2 is a phenomenal pick. The Green Bay Packers, definitely A+ pick, and finally a wide receiver to pair with Devontae Adams. Close out round 2, the Kansas City Chiefs take Pete Warner, the linebacker from Ohio State. Took Woodley Gay Jr. for this past season in the draft from Mississippi State. And then 64th overall, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take defensive tackle Aleem McNeil from North Carolina State. They could really use some defensive linemen. I know in round 1, I already had them taking Jalen Phillips from Miami. We have lots of other defensive linemen are actually guys who, towards the end of their careers, 1-year contracts. So that's the end of round 2. We'll do, going in the final round of round 3 here. We'll start it off with the 65th pick overall. The Jacksonville Jaguars take Clemson wide receiver Amari Rodgers. Up to this point, I have not had the Jacksonville Jaguars take a wide receiver. Amari Rodgers is probably the best wide receiver available. Pair him with your former teammate in Trevor Lawrence. I think that's an obvious fit and just makes so much sense. 66, New York Jets. I hadn't taken linebacker from Alabama, Dylan Moses. Dylan Moses is one of the best linebackers in the draft. Probably the best linebacker available right here at 66. And, they have not re-signed free agent linebacker Neville Hewitt, who had over 100 tackles this past season with the Jets. So they could definitely use some linebacker help, and I think Dylan Moses at 66 is a steal and a team need. 67, Houston Texans finally have a draft pick in round 3. First pick so far in the draft, and they take USC wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. I also, think maybe they could take a edge rusher here as well, tackle, pretty much anything except quarterback, because they signed Tyrod Taylor and they traded to get Ryan Finley. Getting a nice weapon for whoever your quarterback is going to be. At this point, it may not be Deshaun Watson, so maybe getting a nice weapon for Tyrod Taylor. 68, absolute steal. The Atlanta Falcons take corner from Georgia, Tyson Campbell. Staying in state, Campbell's one of the better corners available. And there were some people, there's still a few people, which I don't understand it. And maybe the Atlanta Falcons should take Patrick Surtain at 4. I don't get that at all. There's a difference between getting a team need and just having a huge reach, and that's definitely a huge reach. But getting a future starter and it's going to be a huge part of your secondary at the 68th pick overall. It's a great pick for the Atlanta Falcons. 69, I had some trouble with this one. In round 1, the Bengals took Jamar Chase. In round 2, the Bengals took guard from Ohio State, White Davis. I don't really think this is a reach. I know some people probably think it will be. But BYU offensive tackle Brady Christensen is one of the most underrated offensive linemen in the draft. If he played at Ohio State or Alabama, his draft stock would be a lot higher because, some people, value Christensen because his level of competition. But to me, the good PFF ratings, he had one of the best ratings this past season according to PFF. And I definitely think he could be a potential pick there for the Bengals at 69. I think that'd be a pretty good pick if Bengals end up doing it. Going to pick 70 now, the Philadelphia Eagles take tight end Brevin Jordan. He actually had a pretty bad pro day. If it wasn't for that, he probably wouldn't have fallen this far. But, Dallas Goedert only has 1 year in his contract. Zach Ertz is probably going to be traded. That's a nice pick for Philadelphia. 71, I did mention I hate the idea of the Broncos taking quarterback at round 1, but I'm not against them taking quarterback in the later rounds to maybe pressure Drew Lock. And, if he does not play this good next season or if he has some bad games, goes into a slump, maybe they put in Kellen Mond, a quarterback round 3 or 4. That's exactly what to do in Kellen Mond. One of the more underrated quarterback prospects. I think this is a perfect fit. And a really nice pick here for the Denver Broncos at 71. 72, the Detroit Lions. I take edge rusher Ronnie Perkins from Oklahoma. I've seen projections of him all over the place. I think that's a pretty nice spot. The Detroit Lions could definitely do some defensive players. They have a horrible defense and have for years. So getting him at 72 is a nice way. Jeffrey Okudah, then you're starting to get some nice players. I think it's a good pick for Detroit. 73, the Carolina Panthers take USC tackle Jay Tufele. That's another player I've seen absolutely everywhere. I've seen some towards the end of the first, and I've seen some in the third. And I think they could use another defensive tackle. And you pair him with Derrick Brown, your first round pick this past season. You have a really nice young defensive tackle duo in Carolina. 74, I have the Washington football team taking Jalen Mayfield, Michigan. His projections are everywhere as well. Whoever your quarterback is, you need to protect him. And that's exactly what they do with taking Mayfield at 74. As you go to 75, the Dallas Cowboys take defensive tackle Tommy Togiai from Ohio State. It's kind of weird because, you think of top schools, like Ohio State and Alabama. You would not think they would have underrated prospects, but they actually do here. He's one of the most underrated defensive tackles, one of the better ones. And I think that's a great pick for the Dallas Cowboys because they just need to figure out their defense. Their offense, Dak Prescott, Elliott Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Gallup. Their offense is covered. They just need a ton of good players on the defensive side of the ball. Him playing at Ohio State. The 76th pick, I actually have another Ohio State Buckeye being picked, and Josh Myers, a center. I have him going to the New York Giants. They can use a center. They desperately need one. Daniel Jones is very inconsistent, but they could still use some nice offensive linemen for Jones as well. So getting Josh Myers at 76, I think is a pretty good pick. Pick 77, I have the Chargers taking wide receiver Tylan Wallace. They have some nice receivers and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, some other guys. But I actually like it a lot. Mike Williams, he does not have many years in his contract left. Neither does Keenan Allen. And you wanted to give Justin Herbert some weapons. 78, the Minnesota Vikings take edge rusher Rashawn Weaver from Pittsburgh, a very underrated edge rusher. And would not be surprised if they would take an edge rusher earlier, maybe like in the first round, maybe Cody Payer, Azeez Ojulari. But they got their offensive lineman in the first, and they get their edge rusher in the third. And at 79th pick, I had the Raiders taking quarterback Davis Mills. I saw on Good Morning Football the other day, Peter Schrager was actually talking about having the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking Davis Mills in round 1. I don't understand that at all. Davis Mills has not played many games at all. People who, talk bad about Trey Lance to say, well, he's not started many games. Davis Mills hasn't either, and I just don't really understand it. I think Mills would be a good pick here for 79 for the Raiders. He can learn a lot from Carr. I think they're similar in style of play, limited athleticism, and, a similar playing style. The best passes are short. And, maybe a good guy to learn some stuff from Derek Carr. The Raiders actually have back-to-back picks. At pick number 80, they take Michigan wide receiver Nico Collins. They can use some wide receiver help at depth. 81, the Miami Dolphins take corner Elijah Molden. They can use some corner help. They do have a good secondary, but I think they could use a little bit more. 82, the Washington football team to take offense tackle from Northern Iowa, Spencer Brown. I know I already had them taking Jalen Mayfield, but Spencer Brown is just too good to pass up here at the 82nd pick. I think this is a really nice pick here. Getting him at Jalen Mayfield. You got your offense, you got your tackle set, but now you just need to find your quarterback. I think that'd be a good pick. So I mean, whoever your quarterback is going to be, they're going to have really nice protection. 83, I have the Chicago Bears taking Stanford corner Paulson Adebo. I think he's one of the better corners and day 2 picks. The Chicago Bears could use some corner help because they lost Kyle Fuller to the Denver Broncos, so I think it makes some sense there. Close out the 84th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles take edge rusher from UAB, Jordan Smith. I like this pick a lot. The Eagles lost Vinny Curry to the New York Jets, and they need some defensive players. They need wide receivers and defensive. Well, the Eagles need just about a little bit of everything. The Eagles' defense is not nearly as good as what it was their Super Bowl run, and that was a big part of why their team was so good. Was because their defense, and I think Jordan Smith at 84 is a good pick for the Eagles. 85, the Tennessee Titans take offensive tackle Walker Little. This a replacement for Isaiah Wilson last season. It was their first round pick, did not work out. Walker Little in round 3, I think he's obviously going to be better than Isaiah Wilson. It's not a bold take. That's not that's going to happen because I know he'll at least play more than like 5 snaps. 86, the New York Giants take offensive guard Trey Smith. This is an intriguing pick. If it was not for Trey Smith's medical issues, with his blood clots from several years ago, I think this Trey Smith will be drafted a lot higher. Trey Smith reminds me from several years ago when the Raiders took defensive tackle from Michigan, Maurice Hurst. Maurice Hurst would have been a first-round pick, but he actually dropped to the 4th round because he had some serious medical issues. And Hurst actually got released today. Kind of interesting move by the Raiders, but the pick for the Jets to get more interior offensive, more help for the Giants' interior offensive line, protect Daniel Jones. 87, I know this may be a little bit of a reach, but I have the Steelers taking linebacker Tony Fields. They lost Bud Dupree. Their linebacker help, their linebacking core is not as good as people think. It is really good, but what's his face? I remember going blank. I can't remember his name. But he was out for the last season. Devin Bush was out last season due to a season-ending injury. They need some more linebacker help. West Virginia and Pittsburgh is kind of very close, and I think Pittsburgh is keeping an eye on WVU prospect Tony Fields. 88, Los Angeles Rams take center Quinn Merritt. Had a phenomenal Senior Bowl week game. One of the guy who rose, helped his stock the most in the draft. I think it's a great pick there. I don't know if it'll last this far though, but if it does, it's an A+ pick for the Rams. 89, the Cleveland Browns take Trill Williams from Syracuse. Trill Williams is one of the best tacklers as a corner. That's something you don't really see nowadays. Nowadays corners just try to get the interceptions or deflect the pass, but Trill Williams is a very, very good tackler for one of the best tacklers I've seen as a corner. And they can use some corner help because Greedy Williams this past season, I believe he's coming off a season-ending injury. Denzel Ward only has a year or so in his contract left. I think it'll be smart at the Cleveland Browns to maybe take a corner somewhat early in the draft. 90, Minnesota Vikings take offensive guard from Georgia, Ben Cleveland. I know I already had him taking Elijah Tucker, but you can have both those guard spots for new rookies. Ben Cleveland's really helped himself at his pro day, his measurables and everything. So I now think he maybe go a little bit higher, but I think it's a great pick for Minnesota. 91, the Cleveland Browns take Patrick Jones, the edge rusher in Pittsburgh. Patrick Jones is probably my favorite edge rusher in the class. I'm not saying I'm not saying he's the best one, but he's definitely my favorite. And they signed Jadeveon Clowney yesterday to a 1-year deal worth $10 million, but that's a 1-year deal. So if that doesn't work out, I still think the Cleveland Browns draft a edge rusher somewhat early, and they still by taking Patrick Jones at the 91st pick overall. 92, the Green Bay Packers take linebacker Jazz Surratt from North Carolina. I said the top three names of Green Bay Packers were corner, wide receiver, and linebacker. And round one, they took corner. Round two, they took wide receiver. Round three, they take linebacker Chaz Surratt from UNC. And I think it's a phenomenal pick. Something interesting about Chaz Surratt, when he was coming to UNC, at one point while his time with the Tar Heels, he was actually quarterback. Now he switched positions on the opposite side of the ball, and is going to be a draft pick. 93, the Buffalo Bills take safety from Oregon, Javon Holland. They can use some safety help, and I think Holland at 93 is a very nice pick. 94, I know this might be a little bit of a reach, but I have the Chiefs taking Anthony Schwartz. The fastest player in the draft. The Chiefs love speed. They lost Daniel Watkins to the Baltimore Ravens. I think it makes a lot of sense. Also something to look at is Jalen Darden, the wide receiver from North Texas as well. But even though it's a reach, probably most people would agree, I really like that pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. As we go to 95, I have Kyle Trask going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this is a phenomenal pick. The Buccaneers eventually, and just Tom Brady in general, he's eventually going to need a quarterback who's drafted to eventually replace him. I think Kyle Trask is a good pick here at 95. I don't think he's a first-round pick. I don't think he's a second-round pick. But in the third round, I think he's a great pick. To me, his perfect comparison is exactly perfect comparison is Derek Carr. They're best in the short passes, maybe 10, 15 yards, but when it gets to about 20 yards or more, they're very inconsistent. Limited mobility, very, very limited athleticism. I like Trask a lot for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 95. Some of my favorite picks in this third round here. 96, the Patriots take their quarterback in Jamie Newman. Jamie Newman, you look at quarterbacks in the NFL who compare to Jamie Newman. Jamie Newman's pro comparison is obviously Cam Newton. And Jamie Newman can learn so much from Newton because Newman's playing style is exactly what Cam Newton's used to be, his early time at Carolina. And I think that'd be a great pick there for the Patriots. I don't know, if he'll be their, future star quarterback, but I do like that pick a lot. 97, the Los Angeles Chargers take tight end Tommy Tremble from Notre Dame. They lost Hunter Henry to the Patriots, so I definitely think they could use a tight end. I think that's a pretty good pick. Also, someone to maybe look at is Hunter Long from Boston College there as well. 98, the New Orleans Saints take safety Hamza Nazardine. They could use some help at safety. I think that'd be a really smart pick. 99, the Dallas Cowboys take offensive tackle Jackson Carman. I know, he's maybe fell a little bit here, some would say, but they could still use some offensive tackle help. I had them drafting all defense earlier so far, so I think taking Jackson Carman at 99 is a pretty good pick. So kind of going on our last set of picks here, the 110th pick, the Tennessee Titans take wide receiver from Louisville, Tutu Atwell. They had A.J. Brown, who I think is a really, really good receiver. They need somebody else to pair him with him. I think pairing Atwell with Brown would be a really good pick. The Detroit Lions at 101 take linebacker Cameron McGrone from Michigan. So they're staying in state. They could use some linebacker help. And maybe go another position. This might be a little bit of a reach, but I like it. 102, the San Francisco 49ers take edge rusher Quincy Roche. This is a phenomenal pick. They could use edge rusher. And Quincy Roche at the 102nd pick is definitely I would say the best edge rusher available. He's probably the best player available. So that's a great pick for San Francisco. 103, the Rams take corner, I believe from Nate Hobbs. I think they could maybe use another corner here. Jalen Ramsey is really good, but his contract. You've looked at Todd Gurley, Jared Goff. They're getting rid of some of those guys who hit their contracts are just absolutely ridiculous. And let's say if the Rams are unable to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 or 3 years, if they decide to just blow it up, maybe they trade Ramsey. I don't think that would happen. But, I think they could use some corner help. 104, the Baltimore Ravens take wide receiver from North Texas, Jalen Darden. That's a phenomenal pick. It makes so much sense. Not taking Kadarius Toney at 27. I thought that kind of made more sense. Not taking Kadarius Toney at 27 because they have more team needs than just wide receiver. But getting Darden at 104, I mean, he would be phenomenal in their offense, with the end arounds and everything like that. It's one of the best picks of this draft in general, in my opinion. And to close it out, the New Orleans Saints take Ole Miss tight end Kenny Yeboah. I think they could definitely use a tight end. I know Adam Troutman from Dayton. They had high expectations for him, but I don't. I've not really seen anything great from him. I think him and Troutman would be a nice duo. Yeboah and Troutman would be a nice duo, but I don't see Troutman doing it by himself. I think it would be better if there was a 2 tight end system. So that was kind of this round 7. 3-round NFL mock draft. It took a while. It took about close to an hour to do. Tomorrow, April 16th, 2021. Tomorrow around 1 p.m., I will have Los Angeles Chargers starting running back Austin Eckler on the show. So make sure to check that out. Thank you all so much for listening. If you could like this video, I would appreciate it. But more importantly, if you could subscribe to the channel, I would really, really appreciate it. Once again, thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time on the Sports 200 Show.